Schaefer here, also known as author Carrie Ann King, and I am a writing mindset coach. If you don't know me, and my gig is to help writers ditch their doubts, dance with their demons, and delve into creative delight. So you can get your words out of your head and onto the page where they belong. And that applies to me as well. All the talking I do for other people, I also need to do for myself on a regular basis, which means me talking to me. Hey, Jackie, hi, glad you're here. If you are here and you can see and hear me okay, please let me know. Doing Facebook Live always feels kind of like talking to yourself, so it's always, I'm good at that though, so not a problem. I will pretend that my cat is sitting here and talk to my cat, but nicer, because he was annoying this morning. Anyway, moving on. Today I am going to talk about one more essential element in the quest of the legendary writer. And I'm anxious to tell you what that is, but I'm going to give people just a minute to show up. Hi, Patty. Great. Glad you're here again. Those of you who are here while we're waiting, just tell me something that you're grateful for today, something that is making you happy or that you're glad is in the world. I am super glad for the absolutely beautiful sunshine outside. It's getting so incredibly green up at my house. In this part of the world, spring is miraculous anywhere, I think, but I really do feel like here it's extremely awesome. And Jackie says I'm coming through loud and clear. Awesome. Thank you. Always good to know. I am gonna just dive right in here in a minute, but before I do that, the last 2 days I showed you a card which started when we talked about the card that I drew for the day when I started, and it really looked like a serial killer card. So I've been drawing better ones every day since. This one this morning is faith. And I really like this one. It says on the back, have faith. Faith grows when you act without knowing the end result. And I think that's really true. And it's something that really does apply to writing, because very often you just need to dive in, take the first step, take the next step, keep writing, and trust that in the end, you and the idea will come together and create a shape that means something and is readable to somebody else. Jackie's grateful thing says our third day of sun and 60s. I know, isn't it amazing after all the snow to have the incredible weather out there. I'm happy even for rain in the spring. It's just not white anymore. So I'm going to show you the diagram from yesterday. So the last 2 days we have talked about two essential things for the quest of the legendary writer. The first one was accountability, and basically really the magic of saying you're going to do something, telling people that you're going to do that thing, and then letting people hold you accountable. The flip side of that was just being sure that the people who are holding you accountable are not whip cracking guilt mongers, because that's not helpful, and sometimes our goals need to change. The second one that we talked about yesterday was motivation, and I shared some really fun ways for staying motivated and moving forward. We talked a little bit about brain chemistry. So today I have another thing to share with you, and before I do that, I am going to, I guess I'm going to share it with you now. Click the wrong button. There we go. Okay, so the third thing for today that we're going to talk about is creative play. And I think in many ways this is one of the most important things for us as writers to do. And here's what I was going to do before I showed you creative play, was bring out the magic wand again, because it makes me laugh. Anything that lightens us up and makes us laugh, again, releases those endorphins we were talking about yesterday. So the happy brain chemicals come up when we're laughing. It's almost impossible to be in a place of humor and be angsting and worrying about how your book is going to turn out. So taking some time for laughter is really important. Now, to really apply that to writing, having it be creative play really frees up our creative process, stimulates our creative juices, helps us to get deeper into our work, even when it's really serious and dark, just for having taken that break. I started this series with talking about lessons learned from NaNoWriMo, and this is one of my favorite things from NaNoWriMo, actually, was that sense of play. So this was really, it was the second novel I wrote the first year that I did NaNoWriMo, and I still didn't know how to write a novel. I just dove in. I had read the book. I can't remember the name of the guy that started NaNoWriMo. If anybody's out there that knows that, you can tell me. Chris something or other. Anyway, he wrote a book called No Plot, No Problem, which was fun because it was an invitation to stop worrying, stop stressing, not worry about if the work is perfect, but just do it and have fun with it. So one of the things that NaNoWriMo was providing that year, and I think probably always does, was challenges that you could dive into with your novel to make it just fun and get over that being stuck thing. So there was a list of really fun things like create an argument, blow something up, have a murder. I think the ones I remember were all pretty violent. But you could take a pin, close your eyes, stab the page, and then whatever thing you came up with, then you had the fun of working that in some way into your story. I took that and ran with it, actually. My friend Trudy was writing a fantasy novel, and she had a character I really liked in the novel, but she didn't like him and didn't use him very much and was talking about cutting him. So I actually borrowed her character and brought him into my novel and let him hold on to everything from her novel, but just let him kind of come visit and play in mine, which was a very different world. And that was a super fun thing to do, really freed me up to then think about, all right, what am I really doing with my plot and my characters? Because I stopped being so serious. It stopped being so weighty. I stopped thinking that every decision I made about the novel was life and death and going to be the end of everything if I screwed it up. If you've ever experienced that when you're writing, hands up. I think we all get there at some point where we start taking ourselves and our work so incredibly seriously. It's no wonder we get blocked. Another really fun thing I did one year at NaNoWriMo was I wrote an entire novel that was really plotted only by the titles that I chose from a series of vinyl albums that we had on the shelf. So a whole bunch of old rock and roll albums, and I would literally pull out an album at random, close my eyes, stab my finger, and then whatever the song title was, that was the title of the next chapter. I had so much fun writing that book, and it taught me so much. The title of it, by the way, ended up being Goat's Head Soup, which was from the album that I picked, and I learned a lot from writing that book because it forced me to think about plot structure while still being really creative and trying to make things come together. It was fun. That's the other part of it. And we learn from fun. So thinking about it, it takes me back to Julia Cameron and the Artist's Way, right? Julia Cameron wrote The Artist's Way. She also wrote a littler known book called The Right to Write, which is for writers, which has some other really wonderful activities that you might try if you're getting started or just needing a little encouragement along the way. But the artist date idea is that we need to refill the well, that we are always, as writers, we're putting things out into the world and we need to bring things back in. We need inspiration, we need excitement, we need enthusiasm from coming in from outside. So her idea is that once a week, you take yourself out on an artist date. You go do something that you wouldn't do otherwise, and you do it alone, not with somebody else. So it's taking yourself on an adventure is the way I interpret it. And that is such a fun thing to do. And it just refills the well. It brings in more creative energy. It gives us ideas. It's a fun thing to do. Other things are fun to do with other writers. There's something that happens when you are with a group of other creative people who want to do creative play with you, because they play differently than maybe the other people at your work or at home or your kids or your husband or whoever. So at the retreat that we just ran, our first ever creative wellness retreat that we did on Whidbey Island a couple of weeks ago, we played writer games. And the most popular and most fun one that we played was drawing words. Everybody had to just contribute random words. Then we all drew words, and we told a story in turn. And when you were telling the story, you needed to use your word in the story. And I will always and forever, when I think of Smitty, the forward-thinking blacksmith, I am going to die laughing. And I'm going to remember all of the things that we did at that retreat and the inspiration that happened just from being in that group and playing those writer games. So I strongly encourage you to have some fun with writing. And that's one of the things that we do in the League of Legendary Writers is every week there's an opportunity to engage in a challenge. It might be writing a limerick. It might be having random words chosen and then needing to write a little story with that. We're going to play a lot of other games as well going forward. These things are great for lubrication, really, for lightening up, for deepening our creativity. Other great things for writers to do is other forms of art. So drawing, painting, music, even gardening or cooking, if you're doing creative cooking, all of those kinds of things really then help to loosen you up as a writer as well. So because of all of that, today I am going to leave you with a small challenge to do for fun in your creative work. So think about your project, whatever it is that you are currently working on, whether it's a poem or an essay or a novel or a short story, and I challenge you to just take 5 minutes and write that current, wherever you are, put a camel in that scene. And that's, yes, I said camel, C-A-M-E-L, one of those creatures with a hump. It is Wednesday today, after all, so hump day. So insert a camel into the scenario just to play for 5 minutes. You're probably not going to keep it in your finished project, but just see how it changes your brain and the energy shift that you get from that. So for me, for example, that's going to be a bit of a challenge for me because I am writing a very dark scene that involves a heart attack and a death, but I can do that. And I'm gonna. It'll be a fun thing. It'll be a fun little project. So put a camel in your work. Go do something fun. See if you can find some other creative people to play with. And just don't take yourself so seriously or your work, because we can always revise it. Nobody's going to live or die if you have the wrong word or you didn't get your character quite right, right? Do the fun thing, go out, do your creative thing, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.